The Greyfriars Kirkyard in the old town of Edinburgh was a place that many people avoided, especially at night. It was known for being one of the creepiest and scariest places in Europe, and for a good reason. One of the main reasons for this reputation was the presence of the large, black mausoleum that housed the remains of George Mackenzie, a lawyer who was responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. Many people believed that Mackenzie's restless spirit still lingered within the cemetery, causing strange gusts of wind, chills, and even physical touches on those who walked by his tomb. But Mackenzie wasn't the only haunted presence in the Greyfriars Kirkyard. There was also the story of Bobby, a loyal mutt who had guarded his owner's grave for more than a decade before finally passing away and being buried within the cemetery gates. Some said that they could still hear Bobby barking at night, protecting the graves of those he loved. Despite the creepy reputation of the Greyfriars Kirkyard, there were still some who were drawn to its history and mystery. One such person was Sarah, a young history student who had always been fascinated by the paranormal. She had heard about the creepy goings-on at the cemetery and was determined to experience them for herself. One night, Sarah gathered her courage and made her way to the Greyfriars Kirkyard. She entered the gates and began to explore the maze of graves, trying to find the mausoleum of George Mackenzie. As she walked through the darkness, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Finally, she came upon the mausoleum and stood before it, gazing at the large, black stone structure. She could feel a chill run down her spine and a gust of wind blew past her, ruffling her hair. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder and let out a scream. She turned to see a figure standing behind her, but it was just a caretaker who had been making his rounds. He chuckled at her reaction and assured her that the Greyfriars Kirkyard was just an old cemetery and that there was nothing to be afraid of. Sarah was relieved, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the Greyfriars Kirkyard than met the eye. She decided to come back and continue her investigations, determined to uncover the truth behind the hauntings of the cemetery. As the years passed, Sarah became a regular visitor to the Greyfriars Kirkyard, always on the lookout for any signs of paranormal activity. She spent countless hours researching the history of the cemetery and the stories of those who were buried there. Through her investigations, Sarah discovered that there were many other haunted places in Edinburgh, each with its own unique history and ghosts. But the Greyfriars Kirkyard remained the scariest and most mysterious of them all, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a thrill every time she entered its gates, knowing that she might just come face to face with one of its unruly spirits. Sarah became quite well known among the paranormal community for her work at the Greyfriars Kirkyard. She had collected countless accounts of strange occurrences and had even captured some eerie footage on her camera. Despite the caretaker's reassurances, Sarah was convinced that there was something supernatural at play in the cemetery. She spent many sleepless nights studying old records and speaking with experts in an effort to uncover the truth behind the hauntings. One particularly cold and stormy night, Sarah decided to brave the elements and visit the cemetery. She wrapped herself in a thick coat and made her way through the gates, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. As she walked through the graves, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She quickened her pace, her heart racing with fear. Suddenly, she heard a loud crash behind her and spun around, her flashlight beam illuminating a fallen tree. Sarah let out a sigh of relief and chuckled at her own jumpiness. But as she turned to continue her investigation, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Slowly, she turned around, expecting to see the caretaker or perhaps one of the other night watchmen. But there was no one there. Sarah was alone in the cemetery, the only sounds the howling wind and the rustling of the trees. She swallowed hard and continued her investigation, her nerves on edge. As the night wore on, Sarah experienced more strange occurrences. She heard whispers in the wind and felt cold gusts of air on her skin. She even thought she saw a shadow moving among the graves. Despite her fear, Sarah refused to leave. She was determined to uncover the truth behind the hauntings of the Greyfriars Kirkyard. And in the end, her determination paid off. After years of research and investigation, Sarah finally pieced together the mystery of the Greyfriars Kirkyard. She discovered that many of the hauntings were connected to the dark history of the cemetery, including the cruel deeds of George Mackenzie and the loyal devotion of Bobby the dog. Sarah's findings were met with skepticism by some, but she knew that she had uncovered the truth. And as she walked through the gates of the Greyfriars Kirkyard, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment and a renewed sense of respect for the spirits that lingered within its walls. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel.